Welcome back into McCready and Siskey, the YouTube live stream version. It's been about 6-7 weeks because of the holidays, the Peach Bowl, my sickness, and then my surgery. I got back up into the Clark Ford Studios for the first time yesterday, so we'll be with you for. We're gonna keep it a little tighter than usual because I'll be total full disclosure. If I sit still in one place, Tyler and I were just talking about this. If I sit still in one place for more than about an hour, I pay for it, especially on a day when I've had rehab, and I just had rehab earlier today.
They torqued on your ass today.
Yeah, we did. We got after it a little bit today, which is good. Got the stem, when they pump the electrical stuff into you while you do the exercise. I'm up to 50, which is your legs vibrating. So
stem's good.
Stem's good. You can tell it works.
Yeah. Have you ever played around with a stem where they turn it all the way up and you just seize up on it?
Well, this was as high as I've been, was 50. But I'm not going to be beyond that, I don't think.
Get them to mess with you and put it on your neck and your face and just watch your face.
I don't want to do that. I'm good.
We used to be sick and sadistic when I was a player. Stem's been around a long time.
Yeah.
And anybody listening that ever spent any time in Jonesboro, Arkansas, with the legendary Hall of Fame trainer, Mr. Ron Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hey, ice and stem will cure AIDS, according to Ron Carroll. And so a lot of stem going on, a lot of stem machines. And so we may or not go in there. And if there was a player hooked up to the stem machine, we
yanked it up.
Yeah, we just go turn the knob all the way up and
yeah, it's pretty
mess with them.
It's sadistic.
Yeah, you'd probably get fired for that these days.
But anyway, this is McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. You probably know us by now. I'm Neal. That's Tyler. This is episode 151. About to hit an audio file, and we'll get rolling here on this Monday. A nervous Monday, February the 12th.
Nervous Monday.
Yeah, nervous Monday.
Okay.
Ain't no doubt. As the hours progress, the nerves have skyrocketed.
All right, let's knock it out.
Welcome into another edition of McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. I'm Neal McCready. That is Tyler Siskey here on this Monday, February the 12th, 2024. Thanks for being with us in the stream. Thanks to all who listen, all the feedback, and all of those things. We're brought to you by, like I said, Rain Total Body Fuel. It would help to have that reader up, but I got it right here. And, Rain's been with us the entire time. 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve your goals. Please check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more.
Neal, I'm rocking the Kiwi blend today.
Mm-hmm.
This is a nice, light afternoon flavor. It's very good, very refreshing. I think I'm going to bust out the strawberry guava or the citrus zest for Thursday.
Oh.
One of the new flavors.
Okay.
I was going to do it today, didn't have time. So sticking with this. Love me some Rainstorm. It's taken over all the stores.
What were the two you just said? Citrus zest?
Citrus zest and strawberry guava.
You know what? Bring me a citrus zest on Thursday.
Do you like strawberries?
Okay.
Well, if you're a strawberry guy, people who like strawberry flavored things, almost 100% say the strawberry guava is the best flavor that Rain's ever made.
Okay.
If you are a strawberry person.
I'm not a big strawberry person.
Like for me, I am.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite. The citrus zest, it has a grapefruit hint in it.
Mm-hmm.
Grapefruit / I don't want to.
Okay.
We'll get your blind.
I'm a big grapefruit guy.
Then you're going citrus zest will be your favorite. So, Neal, the Cooper Chevrolet chat is already bumping. We're back. I want to remind everybody that now through March the 4th, you can get super low 1.9% APR financing on great selection of Car Bravo certified pre-owned vehicles, including Chevy, Fords, GMCs, Buicks, Jeeps, Toyotas, and more. Call 256-236-4481, 256-236-4481, and make sure you tell them that McCready and Siskey sent you. Speaking of my good friend Greg Montgomery from Cooper Chevrolet,
yeah,
he went to the Super Bowl yesterday. He snuck a trip in on me to Vegas for the Super Bowl. He sent me like some screenshots. I was in church of all places. The person behind me probably already knew I was a heathen. Probably really thinks I'm a heathen.
You know what? I mean, this isn't the life advice segment, but I'm going to give some here. As much crap as there is in the world, this is my theory on stuff like this.
Yeah.
Something tells me that you being in church and happening to get a message from somebody is not real high on God's list of priorities. God's got a lot of other stuff to worry about other than, hey, Tyler got a text at church this morning. Because God would be like, listen, come to me with something. I'm dealing with a lot of stuff here, okay?
He was busy in Vegas yesterday. He was busy in Vegas. He was busy in Phoenix at the Waste Management. There was some shenanigans going on out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
that's what I'm saying. See my
yeah,
point?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I get this text message with no context. It's just a picture of the Caesars Sportsbook app. Well, I know he lives in Alabama, so it's not legal. And I was like, I was about to text him. I started to say, where are you that you're sending me the app? And then I was like, this dude, I know Greg. So he's in Vegas. So, yeah, they had a good trip. He went up there Friday. Talked to him. He was at the airport today. So,
I mean, my hot take on this obviously wasn't in Vegas for the Super Bowl, but everything that I saw over the course of the week and yesterday, they should just play the damn thing there.
Every year.
It just works. It's kind of like Nashville for the SEC basketball tournament. It just works. It seemed to be a really natural fit. Like, I don't know how you could play that game there and then go, you know what we need to do? Let's go to Tampa. No. For what?
Yeah, no, I think it was one that, you and I have both been to that stadium twice, back-to-back days.
I've been 3 times.
Oh, you went for a soccer match.
I've been there for a soccer game, a college football game, and now an NFL game.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that stadium.
I did ask very specifically because when you and I went, they had this Uber thing down to a science.
Yeah.
They brought all those in the parking lot, and you were in and out. I said, how did you get – because I knew the crowd would be crazier, even though this was for a NFL game and it was sold out. But he said that they stayed at Caesars, and they actually had a shuttle that took them around the backside. Oh. They did not go, and they dropped them off so they could walk. And then I said, well, okay, how did you leave? Because that was the part we were like, because everybody has to leave out the front, and you go across the bridge. And you're fighting for Ubers, right?
Right.
Can you imagine people fighting for Ubers last night?
No.
So he said, he goes, we tried to Mandalay Bay, which is right on the other side. He says, no. So we started walking like we did. I think we actually picked one up at the Excalibur. I think is where we finally.
That sounds right. We went to like 3 spots.
Yeah. I think 3 spots in. I think the Excalibur is where we ended up getting a Uber that night. But anyway, he said the traffic was so bad that the Uber ride was going to take, I don't know, however long. They actually walked all the way back to Caesars.
When Carson and I went to the soccer game, we walked all the way back to our hotel, which was, where the Trump building is?
Yeah.
Our hotel was like the Flamingo. It was right near the Trump thing, which is on the other complete side of.
Yeah, it's way down there.
We walked the whole way because it was just like, what was the point? Because it was all the traffic. And it was like, let's just keep walking. And after a while, he was like, well, we've made it this far.
It's
and
just
I was like, yeah, you're right.
Vegas is just one of those things that everything looks like it's right there, but it's really not.
No, it's not. You walk for a while.
It's really not.
So we probably walked for almost an hour to get back there. Be my guess.
Did we walk back? Was it the hockey game that we walked back from that took us forever?
Yeah, but that's not a.
It wasn't near as far.
Yeah, that's not across the walkway because it was like probably 2/3 of the way down the strip from where we were staying.
Yeah, it was nuts. But all right, Neal, let's talk about there was a pretty big game yesterday. I didn't know if you noticed this or not, but.
Yeah, the Thunder bounced back from that loss to the Mavericks, beat the Kings. Thunder don't usually beat the Kings. Had lost 8 straight to the Kings. Sabonis is a matchup problem. The Kings play a real high tempo, and for whatever reason, that tempo, the way that the Kings do it, usually bothers the Thunder. But yesterday afternoon, they handled it pretty well. Ended up getting a win. There was also a big game in Lincoln, Nebraska. Caitlin Clark went for the record.
Okay. Did she get it?
She did not get it. She got within 8, but they lost. Nebraska pulled off the upset, made a 3 near the buzzer. They
stormed the court.
They did storm the court. They did. Yep. So, yeah. There you go.
The game.
A couple big games.
Yeah. The game I was referring to took place in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, this was the Taylor Swift game.
Yeah, Taylor Swift game.
Yeah.
I got a lot of thoughts here. First thing is, I'm going to talk a little bit differently than what I guess all the pundits talk about a little bit. This game was dominated. The flow of the game, people are like, oh, this is a boring game. This game was dominated by negative plays. I mean, over and over in every single drive. Both teams were getting behind the chains. Good defense was being played, obviously. I think part of it, and I'm going to skip around a little bit to the bottom here to kind of make this point. It was a very poorly officiated game. Very poorly officiated on both sides. Now, depending on who you're pulling for and all that stuff, you can complain. Literally, both sides can complain. But
here was my observation on officiating. Tell me whether I'm right.
No, you go ahead.
They were so afraid to impact the game that they didn't call the game.
Correct. They were letting them play, and then it got so bad that they felt like they had to make some calls. But even then, they didn't. I mean, there were some blatant holding calls on both sides that didn't get called.
Yeah, including late in the game.
Yeah. And then you go, and then to call, and I knew it was coming. I hate it. This is the one thing I hate about the NFL rules is the illegal contact and defensive holding on a pass play. And it's 3rd and freaking 14
it's
or
been
whatever.
Going on all
it's
game.
Been going on all game.
And now you call it.
And they call it. And look, did he hook him? Yeah.
That was the right call.
It was not a bad call from that. It's just not. I mean, you haven't called it all game.
What I don't get is how do you call that? And then there's basically the tackle on Bosa that on what was the game-winning drive.
There was a blitzer, McKinnon, when he was in the game on, the one that I think they hit Rice on the crosser that he gets a first down late in overtime.
I had a few beers.
Yeah, there was a crosser on a big first down play at the end of the last drive of the game, and McKinnon's in the game and he tackles the blitzer, tackles him.
That was the pass to Kelsey where he goes down to the 10.
No,
okay,
it doesn't matter. Overtime anyway.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, it was all game long, and then the spots. So they spotted the ball so bad. I mean, Kansas City got screwed at least on 3 spots. One time it had, there's actually conspiracy theorists on social media today saying the game's been fixed because they didn't really explain it well.
No, what it was they had gotten the first down on the play before, but they didn't update it on the graphic. And so the people thought it was 2nd and 2 when in reality he had gotten the first down and it was 1st and 10.
No, but it was 2nd down. They marked it 1st down.
Oh,
it's just opposite. But that's why he ran out of bounds. Everybody's like, "Oh, it says 1st down now to ran out of bounds." But he didn't get. They marked him short, but he did get the first down. The Pacheco. I say Pacheco. Pacheco. I always say Pacheco. Pacheco. He's got a first down late in the game, and they mark him short. It was a wild deal officiating. Depends on what side you're on. You could call it either way.
I caught myself basically, when I say cheering, I mean in the lightest term possible. I guess rooting for the 49ers, but it took me, 6 100ths of a second to get over the disappointment of the loss.
You were okay?
Yeah.
Well, I was pulling for the Chiefs because I bet on the Chiefs money line. So I was a pretty lofty wager for me, and it hit. So I was happy with that. Here's what changed the game. Greenlaw getting hurt, which, good gracious, man.
Terrible.
How awful is that?
It's awful. It's the worst. It's the worst part of sports, man. Injuries. When someone has worked so hard to get to that place.
The pinnacle of the sport, the moment that you've literally lived for your whole life.
Middle of the second quarter, you're about to take the field. You just punted the ball. You can see the referee in the background signaling the stoppage of play. He's taking the field and his Achilles pops, and he knew it. He knew precisely what it was. He was in tears. I was glad they didn't show him sobbing on the sideline. I was told that he was sobbing on the sideline, and I don't blame him a bit. I don't blame him a bit. That's the part about any sport that you hate. You just hate. I hate injuries. Injuries are such a bummer. Like that.
They're a bummer any way you do it. And then just think about, the guy's a professional. He's a professional. He's a guy that gets paid millions of dollars to hit people for a living.
And he gets to the pinnacle of his sport.
And jog and running on the field to take the field.
Yeah.
It
looked like the one that when Kevin Durant did it in the NBA Finals. It looked just like that, where you could see it ripple up his sock.
That changed the game. Travis Kelce had 1 catch for 1 yard when that happened.
Yeah.
He ended up with 9 for 93. That changed the game. He was covered. He was, they had a great plan. When he went out, they immediately started attacking the backup. I can't remember the guy's name, 33, and he ends up that's what they scored the touchdown on to win the game. They literally used that injury to there's 2 big things from a schematic standpoint there. They literally just leveraged the guy the entire game with Kelsey from then on out, in and out at him the whole game. And then the 49ers did an unbelievable job in the first half on the back end of disguising and and confusing Mahomes. And look, and we'll talk about him here in a second. As good as he is, he had a rough game. And his stats, everybody, he got MVP, all that stuff. He missed a lot of throws. The 52-yard pass, the long one. I mean, he misses Kelsey. Kelsey's uncovered for probably a 35-yard gain. Instead, he threw it up to double coverage. Now it hit, and everybody's like, yay. But he missed a throw there. The throw to Kelsey at the end of the game with when they had 9 seconds or what it was, they had the 1 play, 10 seconds at the end of the regulation. He tries to throw the back shoulder to Kelsey. I mean, he's got Rice running uncut. Rice is going to score on a slant that's coming in his vision. He's throwing the players. I get it. I understand all that. But that's why Rice was upset. The game's over with. Super Bowl's over with. I mean, he hits him. I mean, he's uncovered.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And so he missed some throws. There were a lot of throws that he seemed to be locked in on particular guys. But hell, what are you going to do? Argue with him? He's arguably going to be, which we'll talk about it, probably the greatest to ever play the game. But he didn't have his I would say his A game, especially early on. But it was good enough to win. But what I was saying is San Francisco probably in the second half kind of ran out of tricks in the back end. They basically rolled coverage, and it's hard to do in the NFL. But they went from 2 high to 1 high, 1 high to 2 high, and we're doing it out of exotic looks, man. I mean, they were asking a lot of their DBs, and they succeeded, but they caused confusion. But in the second half, there was a couple clips where you could hear they had the microphone on, and you could hear Patrick Mahomes going, it's cover two, then asking for the ball, because after that, he was starting to throw. He hits a corner route on the last drive, which was dead 1 high, and he didn't even blink. He went ahead and threw the corner route, which shouldn't be dead 1 high, knowing that it was going to go to cover 2. So he kind of had their number in the second half. They ran out of tricks there. And then here's the big thing. A lot of coaches probably talking about this today. Anybody that watches football in great detail is going to be talking about this today. San Francisco abandoned the run.
Yeah.
They abandoned the run.
Tony Romo kept saying, you got to run it. You got to run it. You got to run it. And they got away from it a lot. It was working for them early.
Oh, yeah.
Frankly, it was working for them early, and had McCaffrey not fumbled in the first quarter, I think it's always amazing how people talk about the extra point. I'm like, well, the turnover was kind of big, because they were going to get points on that drive. 3 or 7.
Yeah.
They were inside the 20, and they were driving and looked pretty methodical, and they were getting 10 yards a carry, and he has a bad fumble.
He only fumbled twice all year.
Yeah, that was a bad fumble.
Here was the thing, though, is I bet on Kansas City, so I was pulling for Kansas City. And, I know how you watch football games the same way really coaches watch football games. I watched the line of scrimmage. And early in that game, brother, it didn't look good for the old Chiefs.
No, the Niners were dominating the football game on both ends, really the whole first quarter on both lines of scrimmage.
And they just,
with the exception of Chris Jones. Good God.
Yeah, he's single-handedly.
I mean, I know we're jumping around.
That's okay. That's what we do.
When Mahomes is an all-time great. There's no question about that. No, period. No question. No doubt. All the silliness aside, Kelsey's going to go down as one of the great tight ends in history. Chris Jones, that is now 2 high-level football games that I can remember over the last 3 years that I believe had his position, his spot, been played by just a good player. I think they lose. The other was AFC Championship game against the Bengals 2 years ago. If Chris Jones is replaced by just a good NFL player.
The Ravens game last week.
Yeah. But that's two that I can think of in my head that I go, oh, that was the difference. If Chris Jones was replaced by just a good NFL defensive lineman. I'm not talking about some scrub over at Water Valley High School. I'm talking about a good NFL defensive lineman. The 49ers are champions today. And the Bengals played in back-to-back Super Bowls.
Yeah.
He literally was that impactful.
He affected – there was – I don't know. I'm trying to think. I know there were 3 touchdown throws that a normal quarter – I mean, Purdy would have made the throw.
Yes. There's one that comes to mind. It was like a kind of a seam route down the and they hit it. It was there. It was going to be a touchdown. And he couldn't quite get everything set. He couldn't get his mechanics right because Jones was on top of him. And he overthrew it out of the end zone. I think it was to Deebo Samuel.
It was play action off the outside zone. I remember that because he was front side with it. I know exactly what. And then he just wrote it and got him. He made it. He back gapped a naked one time and caused like an 8-yard loss when they threw it to Uschek in the and they tackled him for like an 8-yard loss. So it's like second 18 killed a drive. He dominated that game. I agree. But San Francisco, they were moving the line of scrimmage, and they just abandoned the run and never went really back to it as far as setting a tone. That's who they are. And they, where Shanahan's kind of ingenious in what he does offensively is, he uses, there's a saying is like, everybody uses, that spreads the field out, uses all 53 1/3 yards of the field, spreading everybody out. He does the same thing, self-admittedly, he's talked about it, by bringing everybody in, and he plays the game inside out instead of outside in, but that's set up off the run, and you got the best running back in the NFL, and just kind of, and it was having his way, and then just kind of abandoned it. So I think that was part of it. Talking about little schematics here, the game winning touchdown to McCole Hardman, was a schematic masterpiece. They had that. There were a couple of things schematically in that game that the probably normal fan doesn't really appreciate as much. One is we had the discussion this morning in the office, and I was trying to explain to it what Bosa was doing. They did not run a design run with Patrick Mahomes the entire season. They will not even do quarterback sneak with him because he's gotten hurt before.
Yeah. And
Patrick Mahomes kind of put him on his back with his legs, but like on 2 design runs, one was just straight read zone where he hasn't ran it all year. And he gets like 22 yards on it on a drive that they ended up scoring on. It was a big play. And then the 4th and 1 in overtime, they basically had read zone with a triple option off of it, an RPO off of it with Kelsey to the flat. But just running him like that was just, you haven't done it all year, and you've been waiting for those 2 critical plays, and they ended up being both critical plays in the game. But then the touchdown. So you are damned if you do, and this is why Kansas City is so dangerous in the tight red zone. Is you are damned if you do and damned if you don't. They are so good. Receivers are so good at finding open zones, and by sides you have Patrick Mahomes playing quarterback. Is you can't play zone on them down there. You have to man them up. And as soon as you man them up, Kansas City basically had, whereas it was in 12 personnel, and they took both tight ends and they put them tight to the line of scrimmage with one receiver out wide. And when they motion, they let the motion guy get full speed motion, and they let him stack right behind 3 and caught them in the middle of trying to switch it off. And as soon as he saw him switching it off,
because he jumped on Kelsey.
Because now the corner bumps to Kelsey, the guy that was on Kelsey bumps, and now the backer who originally has 3 has to kick all the way out to 1 because they didn't pass it off in time, and you can't win. And you saw Kelsey's route that he ran; that's why he never turned around. So if the corner was going to jump out and take Hardman, he was going to hook up. So they had no chance to win that. They were beat on the snap. And they run plays like that so many times that they know if you're in man or zone. And he snapped it to the right. They've done that over. They've done like a 3rd, 4th time they've done it this season. And you have no chance. It's schematically, because if you play them zone, they're going to find the open hole. So it was really a schematic masterclass down there in the tight red zone. All right, a couple other things in the game. My son was all over this one, so I got to talk to it because he was on it. He was asking me about it. The Travis Kelce bump of Andy Reid.
Yes.
got a lot of people in their fields about that, including my son.
Yeah.
He asked me, said, "How would you handle that?" And I will probably surprise you here.
Well, okay.
How would you? All right, let's go. How would you handle it if you're Andy Reid? Okay. How would you handle it?
How long have I coached Travis Kelce at this point?
You're Andy Reid.
Okay. I know who he is. I know what makes him tick. He's an emotional player in the heat of the moment. I would have forgotten about it. I would have kept going. I would have just kept calling. I would have done exactly what Andy Reid did. I would have, because look, it's my understanding that within a short period of time, he came over like, "Hey, I was out of line. I'm sorry." He's a pro. You know who he is. He's made how many plays for me?
Couple.
I mean, I'm over it. Now, if I'm a high school coach, it's a different deal.
Yeah.
If I'm a college coach with an unproven player, it's a different deal. If I'm a college coach with maybe even a proven player, it's a little different deal. This is the pros. Okay? He's not some hothead rookie. No, I mean, he's won you a couple of titles already, been part of 2 championship teams. I guess got you to another championship. I mean, they've played in some Super Bowls. I know Brady got them, but for the most part, they win. I mean, he's played so many big games, including the one 2 weeks ago that beat the Ravens there.
Yeah. I
would have ignored it. I mean, look, Kelsey got lucky that it didn't knock him down because he stumbled.
He's 65 years old. Got hit by a tight end.
Had he fallen, like, and gotten hurt or something, and that it would have been a different deal. But as it was, whatever. I mean, come on. You want to get triggered about some of the stuff. And I joked last night on Twitter. I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen now, because it is like, well, if you were going to script it. But no, I'm cool with that. Whatever. These are pros. At some point in their tenure together, I promise you, Andy Reid has gotten, I don't mean this literally, figuratively, up in his ass about something.
Well, he did not too long ago.
So it's fine. These are competitors, man. I mean, that is high-level NFL football in a game that ultimately went basically 5 quarters before it was decided. I mean, 3 seconds shy of 5 quarters. It was a little intense.
If that was, this was kind of caught my son off guard, because I kind of ran a tight ship, and I explained this to my son, and he looked at me like I had dicks coming out my ears. If this was week 6 in a game versus the Denver Broncos,
sure,
I'd have sat his ass at least for a drive, and we'd had a talk. He was going to sit out for a little bit.
You would have certainly had a big time meeting on Monday.
Yes. Well, he would. I probably would have sat him for a little bit, which, by the way, Andy Reid did sit him for a couple of drives. I don't know how long ago that was. It was later in the year when he infamously threw his helmet and all the stuff, and they lost the game. But the Super Bowl,
no,
brother, I would have forgot about that 13 seconds after.
And that was early in the game before Greenlaw's injury, and he was frustrated.
It was right after the fumble, Pacheco fumble, because they took him out of the game. Pacheco, right after his fumble, they had taken him out of the game for that play, and he was pissed about it. But it's the Super Bowl, and look, I have a saying. There's going to be a lot of people that disagree with this. Okay. I'll say it anyway. I don't believe in I believe in punishing players when they act stupid. I also, at the same time, don't believe when you have superstars or guys that can affect the game, you have to be very careful that you don't punish the other players on the team or yourself because you're punishing another kid.
Of course.
So there's a fine line there.
Yeah.
If that was what's my guy's running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire did something like that, your ass, hey, we'll see you.
Well, the fact that their bench reacted the way that they did, which was kind of like, oh, whatever, another day, right? I mean, it tells me that, all right, when I say volatile, I don't mean I just mean that's a combustible, emotional relationship.
Yeah. You got to let that, you can't punish the whole team and ruin your whole season in the Super Bowl because somebody's upset.
I thought nothing of that at the time.
Yeah. So that was.
I watched Twitter blow up for a minute, and I was like, whatever.
It was pretty.
It was
a good one, though.
I'm gonna go get another beer.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Well, I mean, look, the whole Kelsey thing has become like everything else in our country right now, where literally everything gets politicized. You can't even joke about it. Like, you know, when it ends, whoever runs Biden's account well past grandpa's bedtime.
I saw that like an hour ago for the first time, by the way.
I mean, you know, he's like, it was all part of the plan with the demon eyes and stuff. And it was like, okay, I mean, the one thing that we're fully admitting is that he's not running the Twitter account. But whatever. I mean, it actually was kind of funny, you know. I mean, whatever. This doesn't. We've politicized everything. We've politicized their relationship. We've politicized him. We've politicized everything, and everybody's kind of guilty of it.
Yeah, ain't no doubt.
I mean, the beginning of the game was pretty political. The pregame stuff was. I mean, if you talk to people who were in the stadium, they'll tell you that it was kind of weird at the beginning.
Which part?
The first anthem before they do the America the Beautiful, the Black National Anthem.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it was before they did the NFL Man of the Year.
I had my volume down until the start of the game.
They did that, and then they did the Black National Anthem, and a lot of people in the stands didn't stand. There was a lot of, like, the networks, the producers basically didn't show crowd. They just locked in on stuff because it was like pretty tense.
Oh, well, I mean,
which is where we've gotten as a country. Everything's pretty political and everything's pretty tense and everything's pretty polarized, including the Super Bowl.
All right. Last thing, then I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes for a second. The overtime rules, complete, an utter catastrophe
For the Niners.
For everything involved.
Okay, can I go on record here, because I love this overtime.
No, I like the overtime.
Okay,
I'm just talking about
one team knew the rules and the other didn't.
How? This is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
How?
I don't. It's failure on Shanahan's part. Period.
This is how
the Chiefs talked about after the game that starting in training camp, they talked about overtime rules and that how they were different in the Super Bowl, and that every single day for the last 2 weeks, either in practice and or meetings, they addressed overtime rules. Like, hey, it's different than the regular season.
Yeah, probably just like every other team that was in the playoffs.
So this was the first since they changed the rule, because they changed the rule after that Bills.
Yeah, it's
Chiefs
for
game.
Just the playoffs.
But this was the first overtime game
Correct.
Since that game. If you remember, not really talking to you, but just in the masses out there, our hundreds and hundreds of thousands of listeners. I'm kidding. Wish. Tell a friend.
Lots of
But
them.
if you remember, the Bills and Chiefs had a show, an absolute classic game in Kansas City. I want to say it was an AFC divisional playoff game. And they went back and forth, back and forth. Mahomes was awesome. Josh Allen was awesome. The game was great.
Yeah.
And if you were just somebody at home who just watched the game and you were a Seahawks fan or something, or a Cowboys fan, you just loved the game.
It's like when they scored like 28 points the last 5 minutes.
And so they flip a coin, Chiefs win the toss, drive down the field, kick a field goal, win the game. And it's like, wait a minute. No, that's not how this should end. Josh Allen should get a shot.
Yeah.
And so the NFL was like, we probably don't want a playoff game ending like that. And there you have it.
Yeah.
And so, but the Chiefs talked about how, hey, look, I know we've had overtime games in the regular season, and this is how it was, drive down the field, get it first, drive down the field and score a touchdown, ball game, night, over. This is not like that. So we're going to have a different approach. The Chiefs, had they won the toss, they were going to go on defense first.
Yeah. That's part
the Niners, The Niners very clearly, and this is some of their players have admitted it, they didn't talk about it. They didn't know the rules until they looked up and read them on the big screen. And when they won the toss, they wanted the ball because they were assuming in that moment, hey, if we drive down the field and score a touchdown, ball game's over. Anybody with a brain knows that if you think about this logically with this set of rules, you want to go on defense first. Why? Well, a defensive score ends the game.
Well, you got
and then
4 downs.
If they score a field goal, well, okay, I'm going to run this a little bit more conventionally because a field goal extends the game. If they score a touchdown, screw that. We're in 4-down territory from the moment we get the ball. Now, and if you drive down and get a touchdown, you got a decision to make. Do you want to go for 2 and try to win the Super Bowl? Or do you want to go for one and extend the game, knowing you're going to give it back to them? And now that both teams have had the ball, one score wins. And so the answer would be, if you were the Niners and you win the toss, is no, we'll kick. We'll let them have it first. And then that way, if they score and you drive down the field and score again, like say they score a touchdown, kick an extra point, you drive down the field and score. Okay, you know what? You got a chance right now. One play with Patrick Mahomes standing over there on the sideline to win the game. You're not going to give it back to him, because if you kick an extra point and you give it back to them and he drives down to the 30, Butker kicks a 47, 48-yarder and you lose. So you're going to go for two. They just weren't prepared. And that's, to me, of all the stuff, like a fumble here and a hold here. And I mean, look, it was a 5-quarter game, right? I mean, any one of 20-something plays could have changed the game. But that's the inexcusable part.
That's unbelievable. Like, all right, and so, and Grinds in the Cooper Chevrolet chat, he says, but isn't sudden death if both teams score? Getting the ball first still makes sense if that's the case. Getting the ball first makes no sense. Grind, I love you. This makes no sense. If you get the ball second, this is exactly what happened. If you watch the game, it was 1st and 10. Every single call, because they had to have a field goal, every single first down call that took place before they got into field goal range, first down was treated like a free down. So they handed the ball off to Pacheco. He gets 4 yards. So in your mind, you technically have 1st and 6 instead of 1st and 10.
Yeah, because you're going, yeah.
Yeah, and then if you,
because you're not punting.
You're not punting at all. And so you take that whole play out of it and you get it as a bonus play. I think we were robbed. We were about 8 yards short of having one of the most bizarre things that ever occurred in sports. I am convinced, and not one person can convince me otherwise. I am 100% convinced that if the 49ers would have scored a touchdown, that the entire sideline would have rushed the field and celebrated.
I think you're right. Certainly some of them would have.
You cannot convince me that wouldn't have happened.
Certainly some of them would have, no doubt. Oh, that would have been fun.
Can you imagine what we'd be talking about today if that happened?
This.
It's bizarre. And then I will say this. I was unaware of part of the rule. I started thinking, I said, because it was an 8-minute drive, and I was like, normal overtimes, excuse me, you have a 2-minute warning, all that stuff. And I was like, are they going to, and I remember him saying, hey, we're going to play this like a regular new game.
He goes, we're playing
a new game.
Gentlemen, congratulations. We're playing a new game.
And so when they blew through.
I mean, he walked through it. He told them, here's what the deal is, but they weren't listening.
But I didn't know that when the clock ended, I was like, I had some confusion there. I was like, okay, if the clock ends. But then when they blew through the 2-minute warning, I kind of figured it out.
Yeah, that was just the first quarter.
Yeah. So
they were gonna flip the field and start back on the second quarter.
Now that I knew that, the thinking behind that is some people are like, why do you even have a clock? Well, the whole point is if it does go to a second one and the game was outside or whatever it was, you could strategically pick wind and things like that for kicks and so forth. All right, Neal. I want to talk about this. Patrick Mahomes' legacy. This guy's 28 years old, Neal.
Mm-hmm.
He has been a starter in the NFL. He just finished his 6th year as a starter.
Yes.
He's been to the Super Bowl 4 times.
Mm-hmm. It's 3-1.
And it's 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 seasons that he didn't go to the Super Bowl, he lost in the AFC Championship game.
Yes.
So 6 seasons as a starter, the worst he's ever done is he's lost twice in the AFC Championship game.
Yep. Been to the Final 4 all 6 times. Final 2 4 times. Final 1 3 times.
28 years old.
Yep.
The scary part is he's just now entering his prime. I mean, he's 28 years old. He is entering his prime window.
Yeah.
Like this next year is going to be considered the start of his prime. That's just insane to think about. The guy's already got 3 titles, been there 4 times. I mean, and look, we can call it what we want to. They lost a lot. Defense carried them. They lost a defense. They're not going to get their love that they deserve, which we talked about Chris Jones, but they carried them this run. But if you got Chris Jones, which they just locked up.
Yeah.
And you got a defense of just an average defense with Patrick Mahomes. How many titles does he run off here? He's 28 years old. Guys.
I mean, it's always hard to predict in a vacuum, but because there are other good players. But no, look, I mean, they go into the next season I mean, they're the favorite to win it again next year. I mean, if you look at the AFC picture, who in the AFC are you remotely confident in making a run at the Chiefs? I mean, somebody will, but
you got the
look at
same people.
But look at the contenders, right? Jacksonville took a step back.
You had the Bengals and the Bills.
This felt like Baltimore's best shot.
They'll be back, though.
This felt like Buffalo's best shot. I mean, Buffalo's fine, but they don't do it. They don't get it done in the playoffs. And at some point, that's who you are. The Ravens are that way. They don't get it done in the playoffs, and at some point, that's who you are. And now, who knows what the Bengals are going to look like? I mean, I don't know. They lost their offensive coordinator. What does Burrow look like? Does Burrow come back completely healthy? What happens with T. Higgins? Can they improve on defense? Because the back end of their defense was bad. So after that, who's in it? Maybe Pittsburgh starts to take a step, but they don't have that quarterback.
They got to go get one.
So, I mean, the answer to your question is the odds are he's back in the Final Four at a minimum next year. And so at that point, what he has proven at this point is that the only two people in NFL history that I think even are comparable to him in this category are Joe Montana and Tom Brady. I mean, we're in really rarefied air in that when he gets the ball at the end, you're like, oh shit, well, he's gonna score. By the way, we had a super chat a minute ago.
I can't read it.
TJ says, do you guys think they took the ball first because the defense just came off the field after a long drive and tried to give rest? It seemed like the Chiefs were going to score if they got the ball first. I don't. Just based on body language, I think they thought, hey, we're going to get the ball, go score, and try to win the game.
And I heard that one of the commentators say something about this. Was it Romo, I guess, was talking about this last night when it happened?
I think so.
I'm like, look, guys, this is the fucking Super Bowl, man. You can be tired tomorrow.
No, they thought that the rules were that, and they did not want to give the Chiefs the ball and let the Chiefs go score and win the game. They were – no. They didn't –
I don't want to hear nothing about nobody being tired. Like you don't –
They didn't know the rules. Period.
There's a really –
It's really that simple.
Yeah. There's a really unique thing when it comes to players. In big moments, in big games, you don't get tired. You don't get tired. You go, and there's nobody even thinks about being tired.
Today's probably a good day for Kyle Shanahan to get some life advice. Probably feels like, you know what, man, I'm going to have to address this.
He needs to call Cole Walters too.
He needs to give Cole a call. Kyle used to live in Georgia, so he might be familiar. State Farm Insurance, Cole Walters. Cole is licensed in auto, home, life, health, business, and pet insurance. And if I were Shanahan, I'd get a new puppy today for the whole state of Georgia and insure it through Cole. 706-525-7850. They can find us. They can find them at ColeWaltersInsurance.com. I would get like a Labrador or a Golden Retriever, a cute little puppy. I'd buy the health insurance on it because your luck right now, he's going to get sick. And just go play with the puppy. You got enough money to hire somebody to clean up his or her messes for a little while. You get her trained. But you need a little bundle of joy that's going to love you no matter what.
What if it identifies as a lion?
That's okay too. But you know what it won't do? It will never look at you and go, what the hell were you thinking? It's not going to ever say that. It's going to look up at you like, hey, you're home. I don't know what happened. Don't really care. You're home. When's dinner?
Oh. All right, Neal.
And he needs that right now.
He does.
Because he's surrounded by people who are, if they're not saying it, they're thinking it. And so at least when he looks at his 8-week-old Labrador Retriever puppy, he knows that puppy is not thinking about what happened at the effing Super Bowl.
This is accurate.
He's thinking, hey, when is the next meal? Where's my ball? Hey, what's up? You're here. Let's play. Let's tug something.
All right, Neal. Last thing I want. This is really a betting thing, but that has to do with the Super Bowl. I got a funny little Super Bowl prop bet story I was going to tell you. So I get a text from somebody that listens to our show.
Okay.
That says, "Do you want a sure thing?" And I was like, "Yeah." Sends me a screenshot. They had a buddy who evidently was working the Super Bowl. And they were in the building when Reba McEntire was rehearsing
the national anthem.
So it says rehearsals were today. She did it 4 times. A minute 36:11, a minute 35:93, a minute 35:83, a minute 34:97.
Okay.
So I got this.
What was the over-under?
90.5, so a minute 30 and a half.
Oh, so she was going over.
She was going to go over.
Okay.
And on TikTok and all this thing, it's the better media guys. Like Jake Paul sent his group out there with $10,000, 2 guys, and they were trying to do this whole thing about trying to figure it out, and they had bet the under. So when I looked on the sports book after I got this text that it had been pulled,
info had gotten out.
Info had gotten out, and they had pulled it. Well, conveniently, they put it back up at 95.5. Okay. Before the Super Bowl, they put it back up, the over-under, back up at 95.5. I timed it. Now, remind you, the over-under was 95.5 right before the Super Bowl.
Yep.
She went 135.47.
Okay. So she's 0.03 of a second under.
And now that's according to my watch. So that was very interesting. I was not able to place the bet. I probably would have felt bad. I was like, surely this is like a bad text or something, that couldn't be. Buddy, that's pretty accurate. So whoever that was, they evidently were there listening to it. But here was the controversy. She said, like when she sang the national anthem, she said the word brave twice.
In what context?
The
land of the free and the home of the brave.
And then she went, brave again. And so there's some
the anthem
sports
only
book,
has one brave.
So some sports books are killing it after the first brave, which would put it under. Some people are counting the whole thing, which would put it over. So a lot of people are pissed off that bet on that today. Shouldn't bet on it.
Well, I mean, but the song doesn't have 2 braves.
It doesn't.
It's one brave. It's a singular brave.
But I can tell you this, if the sports books have a way to keep their money, because they got hammered. They lost a ton of money. Because like 74% of the actual money was on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So they lost. So they're probably going to try to keep everything they can get. All right, Neal, I'm going to pivot just a little bit. Not right after our show, I guess it was Friday or Saturday, in a move that's very puzzling on so many levels. There's probably an answer out there, but one of the most surprising coaching moves that I can remember in my lifetime, Chip Kelly leaves as being the head coach of UCLA, the newly Big Ten membered UCLA Bruins, to go be the offensive coordinator for Ohio State.
Yep.
At minimum, he's taking a $4 million a year pay cut. Mm-hmm. So he signed a 3-year deal. So he's basically, his whole contract is worth 1 year of his. So it's definitely not about money.
Right.
We know that. It's not about money. He's 60 years old, I think. He's 60, right around 60.
This is not hard to figure out. You want me to break it down for you?
I'm curious.
Okay.
Because I've heard a lot. I've talked to a bunch of coaches about it, and it's very puzzling.
Okay.
Because I know probably what you're going to say, but it's still puzzling.
Here we go. I'm told he's been very good with his money.
Well, yeah, man.
Is set financially. Told he did not like Los Angeles. Did not feel like UCLA was in a spot from an NIL perspective to be competitive in the Big Ten. That it was one thing in the Pac-12. It was going to be a new thing in the Big Ten, and they were not going to be able to handle it. And I think he, like a lot of your ex-colleagues, people that you know in coaching, is not particularly crazy about the new calendar if you're a head coach. And I think what Ohio State told him was, hey, look, you're never going to have to go on the road recruiting. We're not going to get you involved in – that's what I'm told. We're not going to get you involved in recruiting until just closing it out with some guys. Really what we want you to do is coach ball. Make us a better offense, schematically, strategically. Coach ball. They're going to pay him a lot of money, not as much as he'd make at UCLA, but he's not going to work as much either. Going to have more downtime. Not going to have to fool with all the crap. Not going to have a lot of administrative stuff at all. Just go be a ball coach. And I think he just wants to coach ball at a place where they are good at NIL. He's going to have talent. There you go. I think the guy looked at it and said, you know what? There's more to life than money, especially when you have plenty of money. He's in his 60s. He didn't want to do all that. I got to recruit these kids all the time. I got to keep doing it. I got to do all the stuff. I got to transfer. He just says, F it. Here, Ryan, you do that stuff. I just want to coach ball. They gave him an opportunity to coach ball, and he did it. He tried to get the Seahawks OC job, which we're going to talk about in a second. He tried to get it, didn't, and then just said.
I think he interviewed with Washington and somebody else, too.
He just looked at it and said, this isn't going to work. And if you look at what UCLA is doing, it's very clear that UCLA doesn't think it's going to work. They're not dedicated to it, and they're about to go get in a league that's pretty good. We all do the Big Ten jokes. Look, they're going to get their balls crushed in the Big Ten. Okay? It's not going to go well. It's not going to go well. And if you don't have the right amount of NIL money at all, you can't compete. This is not complicated. It doesn't matter about traditions or facilities or your uniform, how pretty it is. They do have nice uniforms. It just doesn't matter. If you don't have the money to buy the players in the current iteration of college football, you have no chance. And I think he looked at it and went, I just don't care anymore. I've got money. I'm good. It's not like he's going to be living on tuna and he's going to be all right. And so he just looked at it and said, I'm just going to go. He likes ball. He likes to coach ball. He gets to just go coach ball. I think for him, when people go, I don't get it, I'm like, I do. If this were some 37-year-old dude breaking in, you'd be like, what are you thinking? But he's not. He's not. He's got money. He doesn't. Everybody wants more. If you've got more, yeah. 2 million's not as much as 5 million. Gets out of California. I was told he did not like Los Angeles. He did not like living there. He was getting to a place where recruiting there was becoming a problem. USC is ahead of them. So inside your own city, you're behind. And I just think he looked at it and said, screw it.
He evidently did that.
I want some peace of mind. And he got it. So good for him. The people that do this, I'm like, man, there is a thing in this world called, and you and I have talked about this many times, work-life balance. It's real. And if all you do is work, what difference does it make how much money you make? If you have no ability to spend time with your children, people in your life, whatever, what difference does it make? You're not the one spending the money. And look, if it's going to cause you to have a heart attack and die, you're not taking it with you.
Yeah, I was just surprised.
I think he chased happiness, man.
Yeah, but I guess that's what I'm getting at is like, okay, I've had enough of the rat race. And money is definitely not the reason he did it, because I think this move is, if you took both contracts, is about a $12.5 million difference over the lifespan of the contracts.
Yeah. Now he gets away from a heavy tax deal, but but still
a lot. Dude, go take a Group of 5 job. Go.
But then you got to do all the transfer portal stuff. He just wanted. I'm telling you, it's the reason he wanted an NFL gig. He just wants to coach ball, and I think Ohio State said, if you come here, we've got people to do all that other stuff. Just go coach. We'll bring you in on the end on some recruiting stuff. He's not going to have to go hit the road for 3 months in recruiting. Not at all. I'm sure when guys come to Columbus for an official visit, he'll meet with them, the offensive guys or whatnot. That's it. That's it. And you know as well as I do that there are guys in coaching as they get a little older that are like, hey, man, whatever you got to do to get me off the damn recruiting trail. You know those people.
Yeah. I guess I can tell a story now out of turn since a lot of people are retired. I won't say who it was, but I made up a phantom recruit. We made up a phantom recruit one time to send a coach so he could go have a long weekend at his beach house.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
He needed a break.
Yeah.
So we made up a phantom recruit so he could go have a little longer weekend. So I've done that before for a coach. It in the same conference was a little bit, I was just like, okay, but.
He went from a school that's not doing NIL to one that is.
And hey, hats off to Ohio State. Ohio State, they're all in.
100%.
They're all in on 24.
100%.
They are all in.
Yep.
They are pushing the chips to the middle of the table. Like it's to the point, especially, how a lot of the talk around the SEC and around this particular neck of the woods is it's playoff or bust for Ole Miss, right?
Because it is. Yeah.
Ohio State, it's natty or bust.
Yeah.
I mean, they are all
well. And so if they don't make it and they lose, and Ryan Day gets fired, and they don't keep Chip Kelly, they'll pay off the rest of his contract, and he can go whatever. He's good. Listen, I commend the guy. Tip my hat.
A lot of money. All right, UCLA today hires Deshaun Foster. I didn't know if you saw that or not.
I did. I mean, good for him, but I mean, come on.
How about this? He left UCLA last week to become the running backs coach for the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So he was in the NFL for like 9 days, and comes back as the head coach at UCLA. So there was that was an interesting, quick but interesting coaching search. There were a lot of names, sitting head coaches' names who were coming up in that very quickly got out of that in a hurry. All right, SEC country, Ryan Grubb, which we mentioned, I guess, a couple weeks ago. Ryan Grubb takes the offensive coordinator job for the Seattle Seahawks. So he probably gets to check out of the Hampton Inn and Suites there in Tuscaloosa.
Yes.
I'm sure he didn't. Well, you got a couple of living options when you go in there. I actually stayed in the hotel. Some people stay. If your family's there, there's some condos. But he was there for a short period of time, and then he is off to the Seahawks. My Alabama people, my friends, having a tough time with this one. The Red Elephant Club having a tough time with this one because he told them, Neal, to their face on Wednesday that I quote,
Oh, he was.
I am your new offensive coordinator.
And he was.
And he bolted less than 48 hours later.
Well, on the day that he said he was their new offensive coordinator, he was telling the truth.
All right. Coincidentally, this is the other conspiracy theories. 30 days after 30 days after the window closes for transfers. I think that's probably there's probably some truth to that.
You think?
But I don't think it would make a difference. I don't think anybody's going there because of him.
But they didn't want to take that chance.
They didn't want to take the chance. And look, if you're an Alabama fan, you'll be okay. You got one of the top 5 offensive minds in the world as your head coach. I imagine he will call it. Grubb just happened to be one of the very few people on the planet that he trusted to call the plays. Kalen DeBoer's an unbelievable football coach. You'll be just fine. Now, the trick is, which you just mentioned a second ago with Chip Kelly, the trick is balancing the new bullshit that comes into being a head coach. Okay? Used to be you could call plays because, hey, I'm going to call plays because all I have to deal with is speaking here or speaking there or whatever, right? You could control your schedule. Now it's all about relationships and raising money and things like that. The head coaching, I call it the bullshit plate, has gotten much deeper.
Well, and just in general, and shows you that, hey, if you can be an offensive coordinator in college or an offensive coordinator in the NFL, it's an easy call.
Yeah. So
one's just ball.
One's ball. But yeah, I mean, Alabama will be fine. It doesn't matter who they hire. I think it's irrelevant. All right, last thing. I want to hit you with this before we get out of here.
Okay.
We're gonna switch topics. I have, along with my good friends with our Criteria Club that we're having, Grind. I know you're in here. You have been missing out on a legendary betting month, really 2 months now in college basketball. Neal, it's legendary. It's legendary. I screwed around yesterday.
I mean, everyone's talking about it.
They are. They're making coin. Our betonline.ag will tell you the same thing. We're making some coin. Matter of fact, hey, Neal, you'll hear some betonline.ag numbers. Last week, the last 7 days from Sunday to Sunday, our BetOnline AG members collected over 15 grand.
So you tell me I should take the check that I wrote you back. That's exactly what you're
saying. They made 15 grand. All right.
If I weren't crippled, I'd attack your bag right now and fish that damn thing out.
They made 15 grand last week. All right. So
which means we didn't.
Yes, which means we didn't. That's right. That's all right. So anyway, long story short is been on this run. Been watching a lot. I'm talking about I've gotten out of control with college basketball. I love it. I really do. It's become probably my second favorite sport. I don't know why. I'm a big college basketball fan. But I even myself, I have reached sad levels. I am watching the ESPN Plus app. When I click the button, I have to be one of like 5 people watching some of these games. I mean, Quinnipiac, however you pronounce it. I'm all Seattle University versus Utah Valley.
Oh, God.
Niagara and St. Peter's.
Why?
I mean, we're in it, man. We're in this thing. So Long story short.
I mean, I've watched the Pistons a couple of times. I can't make fun.
So the criteria, Neal, is you take teams that are at least between 5 and 9.5 point favorites at home. Okay. And then you take KenPom, and he does his computer thing, which is very good. And you take those teams that are between 5 and 9.5 point favorites that are over 70% win rate in KenPom, which is different than ESPN. And it hits, man. It hits all the time. So we're on a run. Is John Calipari in trouble at Kentucky?
Yes. Absolutely.
What does it take? Because
they're not winning big this year. I mean, look, they're not. They don't guard anyone. They win some games here and there because they have some offensive guys who can play. Young dudes who have some real talent. But they give up points. They give up buckets, easy buckets, to everyone they play. Yeah, they overwhelmed the Vanderbilts of the world. But like South Carolina, and look, my guy over there, Lamont Paris, has done a fantastic job.
Sooner or later, we got to start loving on South Carolina, right?
I mean, I'm doing it now. Lamont Paris has done a fantastic job. He has.
Everybody keeps waiting for the
he has. No, hold on. I'm not taking anything away from what they've done. They've done a great job. He brought in he put some pieces together, and they've made it work, and they play with a real sense of purpose.
Mm-hmm.
They play pretty smart. I think Lamont Paris has done a terrific job. So props. Now, I think even he would begrudgingly agree with what I'm about to say. They're not that damn talented. And they put up 90-something on Kentucky. Okay? I mean, they put up 90-something on them. They can't guard anybody. And so the people that are, what's it going to take for them to turn it around and make a Final Four run? It's not happening. I mean, it's not. No. Watch them play 4 games in a row and then tell me that you think there's any world where, and look at the metrics. Their metrics don't support it. Metrically, the teams that go to the Final Four usually have like a pretty common set of criteria. Yeah. They're nowhere close. Defensively, they're like worlds away from it. No. So, I mean, like, if you told me they lost to Ole Miss tomorrow night, I believe it. And that's not a knock on Ole Miss, but like Ole Miss is pretty limited too in terms of they don't have that. There's nobody on the Ole Miss team that you like, that dude's a walking bucket. Get it to him, bucket. Like, I was watching a game the other day. The Thunder were playing the Mavericks, and Luka Doncic was just a bucket. Like, he's 35 feet from the goal, and Lou Dort, who's one of the best defenders in the league, is wearing his underwear.
Luka is Patrick Mahomes with the ball in his hand in the fourth quarter.
And Luka's just like, bucket. Make passes and stuff. I'm not saying Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky has dudes who can score. They have multiple guys who can score. Dillingham and Reeves and some of those cats. But, dude, they don't guard anybody. And if you don't guard anybody, it's going to get you in college basketball, especially when people have scouted you. Like their performance against Tennessee, they have no chance in that game. That's not a good Gonzaga team the other day. Gonzaga's fine. This is not one of his best teams. There's no Jalen Suggs or Chet Holmgren on this Gonzaga team. They're fine. They scored, 90 points? Kentucky can't stop them. So, yeah, he's in trouble. And they're going to – I know there's a clause in the contract and all the stuff about the contract.
So I read his contract today. It's online. Anybody can go read it. You can pull it, literally Google John Calipari contract, and you can actually see the physical contract.
Here's Grind nails this. Crazy stat on Kentucky. When they shoot 40% plus from 3, they're 10-1. When they shoot less than that, they're 6-6. The Zags shot 22% from 3, while Kentucky shot 35%. But Gonzaga got bucket after bucket at the basket.
And they're not even.
You needed a bucket. You needed a bucket. Paint. Go to the paint. Paint touch. Paint touch. Paint touch. I mean, Kentucky's got to go to Auburn later this week. Like if tomorrow doesn't go their way,
it could go off the rails.
It's a spiral. Do you know what Auburn's going to do to them probably at Auburn? Because Auburn's good about getting when Auburn knows. Now look, Florida did a great job on them, but Auburn played hungover. It was predictable. That was a schedule loss. And credit to Florida. I think he's a good coach. They have some good players.
Big win for them.
Big win. But Auburn pretty consistently, when the shooting's not there, they go get paint touches.
Yeah.
They get the ball in the paint. I mean, Janai Broome might go for 35 against Kentucky. No joke. I mean, Janai Broome is a potential NBA player. He's certainly going to play professionally.
He's good.
He might go 35 and 14 against Kentucky.
And when they play at home, they have superpowers.
Yeah, and they're in trouble. You got to here's the reality at Kentucky, because of who you are, because of your pedigree, because of your resume. When you go to like Arkansas, Arkansas sucks.
Yeah.
And Arkansas almost beat them. When you go somewhere to play, you're the biggest game on the schedule. Auburn's played teams that are a lot better than Kentucky, and yet that place, they're going to be camped out waiting to get in because it's Kentucky, and they're going to wear uniforms that say Kentucky. But look, I'm just telling you, if you watched them play and their uniforms just said blue team or green team or purple team, you wouldn't think anything of them. Nobody would have a conversation about, I wonder if that team's going to the Final Four. No. You might have that when you're watching Kansas or Houston or Purdue or Auburn or Alabama or some teams like that. You might go, if that team wore a uniform that just said orange team, red team, you might go, that team, I could see it or whatever. No. The answer is, he's going to get fired.
Well, the interesting part is in his contract, this is the first year of it after 6 years, which he is finishing his 6th year on the contract. By April the 15th of 2024, this year, he has a note of assignment in writing that he wants to become the special assistant to the AD. Mm-hmm. So he's made it this far. So he can basically become the special assistant to the AD, make $1 million a year. It's right at what it is, $1 million a year, and not coach again.
He doesn't act like somebody who really wants to do it much more.
Yeah, so that would be interesting. All right, Neal, wrapping her up. This week, football's over with.
Yep.
We got Tiger Woods coming back. He will be on the TV Thursday. If he's golfing, he will be on the screen.
Okay.
The man Tiger's trying to save the shit show of Waste Management, which was, look, what you're getting at the Waste Management. They have hyped this golf tournament up as a party, and buddy, they got it.
Well, when they say waste, they mean it.
They meant it.
If they would just change it from waste management to wasted management,
they would
nail it.
We had multiple posts of people taking a piss on the side of the fairway watching a golf tournament. We had fights. They stopped selling. They closed the gates, wouldn't let people in on Saturday. They stopped selling alcohol. People had no idea who the golfers were. Golfers were getting into it with fans and stands. It was a complete and utter shit show. Now, phenomenal golf tournament. If anybody cared who was in it, again, imagine this: the PGA Tour goes down to the finals with in the playoff with Charlie Hoffman, the 47-year-old journeyman, and Nick Taylor. You ever heard of any of those golfers?
No.
You know who won the LIV golf tournament this weekend? You ever heard of a guy named Dustin Johnson?
I have.
Telling you, 2 ships passing in a night, my friend.
Yeah.
And of course, we will talk about this on Thursday, Neal.
Okay. Because
it's that time of the year. I'm going to have some wagers out there for our guys, our crew. We have the Daytona 500 this weekend.
How about that?
We got qualifying Wednesday night. We got the duels on Thursday night. But we got NASCAR. Did you watch any of that show I told you about?
Not yet.
All right. Here's what you need to do. Between now and Thursday, I need you to watch at least one 40-minute episode.
I'll try.
140. You give me 40 minutes of your life between now and Thursday to get the Netflix. You will like it. It will actually. I don't think you're going to become a NASCAR fan, but you will understand it more.
I've been a little occupied.
I know. I think. Hey,
this is a big week.
Big week tomorrow. They moved the baseball game to Wednesday, I think, because of the soccer game.
Did they?
They did. I think they're trying to get students out there.
First 150 students get in free. We raised that much money over one day Saturday.
How about that?
Yep. Me and some other soccer parents, some of the people that subscribe to my site, our site, people on. I didn't put it on the site. I just tweeted it. People who don't even live here donated.
That's awesome.
First 150 kids get in free. First 50 kids get free pizza.
That's all you had to say. Jackson will be the first. My oldest son will be the first person in line if it's free pizza.
It's tailgating out in the on the practice field at 4:30. I got the impression from a couple of texts that I got yesterday that the school is really embracing it, which is awesome.
Yeah, they moved. The official first game was yesterday, or supposed to be Tuesday. They moved it to Wednesday.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, moved it to Wednesday.
That is really cool. That touches me right here.
Yeah, that's big. Because a lot of schools wouldn't do that.
No. I mean, no, that's really cool.
Especially in this part of the world.
Well, because that baseball program is big. But that's cool of them.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm biased as hell. But this is a special group of kids, not just in terms of soccer, but they've had some adversity, busted their asses through it. They've kind of built for this season for a while. It's a really, you talk chemistry. Chemistry on this team is really, really, really good and has been pretty much all year.
What time's the game?
6.
All right. So anybody listening, if you can get to, what's the official name of the stadium?
Bobby Holcomb Field.
On
the campus of Oxford Middle School. It's where the Oxford Chargers football team plays.
It's tomorrow night, 6:00. Come support my man Carson McCready. And this is the North.
This is the North half final. The winner of Oxford and Hernando will play for the state championship on Saturday against the winner of Northwest Rankin and Gulfport.
Okay. So where would that game be?
Ridgeland.
Gotcha. That's where all
the championships are played in Ridgeland. So yeah, I mean, this is as far as Oxford's boys program has ever gone.
So are we carbon? Are we?
This is our first year in 7A. I mean, this was like we jumped up.
Are we carbon Carson up tonight? Are we giving some pizza and pasta tonight?
They have a team dinner. They're having chicken spaghetti.
Okay.
And
cards important tonight. Lots of bread.
Hunter Crane, the head coach.
Yep.
This is his birthday, so
Happy birthday.
they're having birthday cake.
Good people.
Stuff.
Good dude.
Phenomenal dude.
Yep.
Just a great dude. He coaches the girls too. The girls have had some big time success under Hunter. The boys program has been a build and process, and it's been awesome. I mean, I was so happy on Friday. Just you and I've had this conversation. I don't do the "I'm proud of you" thing. Proud of you. I don't care if he never plays it. I'm proud of him no matter what.
Right.
But I'm gonna get emotional talking about this. I'll stop.
No, let's go. It's good pod. Let's go.
He played the first 74.5 minutes and he got a yellow. I thought it was a bullshit call, but whatever.
What'd he do?
He was playing for the ball. The ball's in the air. He and the guy that were playing, and they were both playing for the ball. It was a physical game. Contrary to popular belief, soccer's really physical, especially in the middle of the field when the ball's in the air. And they probably were both fouling one another, okay?
Yeah.
And Carson's elbow, he didn't throw it. It was just here, and it hit. But it didn't hit him in the head or anything. It didn't affect the –
Didn't get a flagrant one.
No, it shouldn't have affected the play. It didn't affect possession, really. The ball ended up kind of bouncing around. He got a yellow. And so the way it works, if you get 2 yellows, that's a red. And not only are you out of the game, but you can't play the next game.
Yeah. I knew that one.
Oxford was ahead 2-1 at the time, so Hunter did the right thing and took him out, not as punishment. You have to leave when you get a yellow, but he didn't put him right back in because, hey, I can't run the risk of you getting another yellow here in the next 6 minutes. We win, and we can't play you.
Right.
He's there starting holding mid, kind of he's had a really good year. Anyway, so he comes off the field, and he's very worked up. And I'm down on the field. I'm like, hey, dude, I get it, but like, you got to calm down. I was looked at him. You got to calm down because if you go back in, you got to be smart. And so he did. He kind of composed himself and immediately starts cheering for his teammates. And the last 6 minutes were just – Madison Central's really, really good. They are a very talented team. Probably as good a team as we've seen all year, and that includes Clinton, who's an absolute juggernaut of a program. And when it ended – just the emotion got him. Yeah. And, and he just, not upset, he just started crying, and just happy and relief. And you've seen that with players. And, I mean, his teammates, there were a couple of those that were kind of emotional too, but most of them were at first looking at him like, are you okay? And then they realized what it was, and people were just supporting him. And he came over to me. I was on the sideline, and he came over to me and just kind of lost it for a minute. It was just, I was proud of him. I don't know. I was happy for him. What I kept saying to him was, I'm just so happy for you. And look, Hernando's really damn good. We've played them twice. We lost to them once. We beat them once. They just beat Clinton in Clinton. And Clinton's again, an absolute juggernaut, coached by Tyler Wade, who's an elite high school soccer coach. So we'll have our hands full, but I do think the environment's going to be cool. I think the environment is going to be as close to Friday Night Lights as boys soccer has had in Oxford probably ever.
Ever, yeah. Well, that'd be awesome, dude. I'm going to try to sneak out.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to.
Well, I've already told Laura I'm probably just going to have to head back down to the fence. I can't. And like people will want to talk, and I'm like, I'm living on every ball. I mean, I'm.
You won't have to worry about that.
Oh, I know that with you. I know that with you. I probably was funny to watch. Although I think, like, usually I'm one of the ones that people are like, hey, calm down just a little bit. It's going to be, on Friday, as that game unfolded and a couple of the yellow cards happened and people got pretty pissed off, it got pretty loud.
Yeah, it gets.
And there were some kids there. Some of the basketball kids came. Some of the football kids came. The girls' team had just gotten eliminated hours earlier, and to their everlasting credit, the majority of them stayed and cheered for the boys on a night when their season had ended, and for some, their careers had ended. You know this because your kid goes there too. It can be a pretty special place.
No, yeah, it's hard. This is what we were talking about actually before the show started. It's very difficult. I guess me, and I know you're the same way. I get more, I guess nervous is the word, anxious, nervous, or whatever, when my kid plays than any moment that I've ever had coaching or playing or anything. I mean, in my life, SEC championship game, nope. College football playoff, nope. Just chill. But watching my kid play a freaking jamboree game, you know what I mean? You're like,
no, I mean, I told you this. I was last night in the fourth quarter. They showed a shot of Brock Purdy's parents.
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
And his dad, they had just scored, and his dad, I want to say fourth quarter, maybe it's third quarter, I don't know, but his dad looked like he'd been through the ringer, and I was like, man, can you imagine? And then my answer was no.
No,
I cannot imagine what it would be like as a dad to look out there on the field on that stage, and your son. Look, I mean, I know he's a professional, but that's your son. It's one of the things I always tell people sometimes with like message boards and stuff. I'll tell parents like, I'm glad you subscribe to the site to read stuff, but you don't need to read the message board.
No,
that's your kid, and you have to understand that it's
all fun and games. They start talking about your kid.
Yes. And so, but yeah, I realized I told a friend down on the field as that game was winding down, I realized, I'm a huge Cubs fan, have been since I was a little boy. And in 2016, I mean, I thought the world was hanging and dying on every pitch. I was far more nervous about the Friday quarterfinal game than I was at any point ever in Game 7 of the 2016 World Series.
Yeah.
And I can already tell you that tomorrow is going to be an absolutely miserable day, in a more miserable than the day of Game 7 was. At which point, I mean, that day I thought, I'm not going to make it to the end of this day. I mean, I'm not going to get there. And tomorrow's going to be and I'm now regular season games. I'm not that way. I'm like, don't get hurt. Good luck.
Yeah.
Have a good game. I'll be there cheering for you, but not nervous. Like it's a regular season game. They're playing Tupelo or whatnot. Okay. But the playoff games, I mean, I knew they had their hands full Friday night, and they did. And I was a nervous wreck. I was literally just the fact that I didn't blow my knee back out again during that game is probably a sign that the surgery went well.
I hear you. I'm gonna try to make it. I think we got everything cleared now that the baseball games moved. So I think we got basketball tonight though. We got a big 8U basketball game.
Oh, is that right?
It's so bad.
Yeah,
it's so hard to watch. But I got an 8-year-old. So Brock's playing baseball on the high school team, so he's doing all that stuff. And then I got Knox is doing basketball and baseball at the same time. So we got a first baseball tournament this weekend. So we're back, and football's over with, and right back to the ballpark. So I'll be at a ballpark near you before too long. And then my other son's got a competition thing in Collierville this weekend. So we're gonna be busy.
All right, very last thing. Grind wants us to pick the Ole Miss Kentucky line. The line has come out I guess during the course of the show, Kentucky's a 9-point favorite over Ole Miss. The over-under is 164.5, so 82 to 82. I don't know that I'd touch the over-under. I kind of like Ole Miss plus the 9.
I would, for sure, the way everything's at right now, Ole Miss did not play. I don't know. The only thing I don't understand about basketball, admittedly, I don't understand the how not playing affects a basketball team.
It affected Florida in a very positive way. They lost a kind of a heartbreaking game to Texas A&M and came back. I thought they looked really fresh against an Auburn team that was coming off of a real emotional game. Kentucky played a real emotional game on Saturday, and now they got to turn around with all this stuff around them. Ole Miss has had a week.
I would probably take Ole Miss in the points. I don't know if if it's 9.5, and since we've had such a good month, I may sprinkle some on the money line. I think Kentucky is on a spiral.
If you told me I had to pick it, I think I'd pick Ole Miss plus the 9, and I'd go under.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of points.
I'd go under.
Because
I got a feeling Ole Miss is pretty much look, they had that horrible second half against Auburn defensively, and then a horrible first half defensively against South Carolina. With the week of practice, I'm based on Chris Beard's reputation, I got to think they really focused on defense.
Yeah, especially one particular one that irritates me.
Yeah,
I'm not calling names out, but I get pissed off.
He benched a couple people in that game, so
it's one of them he benched.
Yeah,
it's every game. It irritates the shit out of me.
I got a feeling they're dialed in tomorrow.
Irritates me to death. I watch it every single game. Just give up buckets. Got 4 guys playing their ass off on defense, and one particular guy giving up buckets.
Yeah,
pisses me off. Anyway,
all right, we've been brought to you by Rain Total Body Fuel, 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, and zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve your goals. So please check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more. For Tyler Siskey, I'm Neal McCready. Until next time, take care. Have a good week.